All right, guys, thank you for joining me for another video. Today we're going to be doing a 1,000 mile ownership overview of my 2021 Ram Laramie. I'm going to let you guys know what I do like about it and all the weird things that I have found out with this in the last 1,000 miles. So let's get into it. All right, so just to remind you guys, this is a 2021 Ram, obviously 1500, 5.7 Hemi with the e-torque option. Number of options and upgrades on this vehicle. This is a Laramie trim with a what I think they call as a level 2 package. We got the 22-inch wheels, sport package, automatic step boards, full bed package, and pretty much all the electronics packages you can get. So let's jump in the vehicle. It's a little bit cold out today, and we'll get into it. All right, so the first thing we are going to get into is the gas mileage with this. I know you guys are probably going to give me a hard time about this and say it's a pickup truck. What do you care about gas mileage? If you want a good gas mileage, you should have bought a Prius. You know, as a consumer, I mean, we need to be concerned with this stuff. Gas is expensive. So we're going to get into the gas mileage again because I come from a 2.7 liter EcoBoost. I had all the towing power, well, not all the towing power, but I still had almost 9,000 pounds or 8,000 pounds of towing capacity, and was still able to get, you know, 20 to 25 miles per gallon. Obviously, I know that's going to change. I got 392s, I got 22s, and a 5.7, so that is going to change. So you'll see this last tank up here in the right hand corner. We got 14.5 miles to the gallon. I will say that this is a little deceptive just because it is wintertime in Pennsylvania. If any of you guys live in the Northeast, you know that the gas is, I'm not going to say watered down, but it has a higher ethanol content in the wintertime. So gas mileage is typically not as good in the wintertime because of the gas quality. One thing I will say I noticed, I go to Sam's Club sometimes to get gas. I will notice that it does burn out the gas a little bit quicker. Going to Sam's Club, I went to Sheetz one time, and I did get what I would consider pretty damn good gas mileage, you know, all else aside. So, granted, this is 14.5 miles per gallon. This is typically driving to work throughout the week. I don't know, 5 or 8 miles away from work, so these are short trips. Very little highway. It's just, you know, letting it warm up in the morning for 10 minutes so my seats and steering wheel get warm. But that is, you know, what I'm going to say is typical gas mileage right now. When I did fill up with Sheetz gas the other week, I was driving my son home, which was about 90 miles each way. Mostly highway. I would say 3/4 of it highway. I did notice if I keep the mile per hour under 60, let's say 55, I was getting about 20.5 miles per gallon for that part of the trip. The small part that was not a typical highway, but it was some back roads that I was able to keep a constant speed and, you know, under 60 miles per hour. So I will say that that was pretty phenomenal. Once I got onto the highway, I kicked it up to maybe 65, 70 with the cruise control on, with the adaptive cruise control. And I did see, I want to say the end of that trip ended up being high 18s, maybe 18.8, 18.9 miles per gallon, pretty much all highway at that point. So I will say that was pretty good. I'm curious to see what it's going to do once we get good gas in the car. So we will get on to the drivability next. I will say that this thing does drive pretty phenomenal. I'm very happy with how it drives. I'm very happy with the comfort of this vehicle on, you know, typical regular streets, shitty Pennsylvania roads, highways. I'm very happy with the handling, how it brakes. I do feel like this brakes a lot better than my F-150. This is probably a significantly heavier truck too, which is pretty funny, but without looking at the details of the brakes, I would venture to guess that this probably has a more robust braking system, whether it's more pistons in the calipers or just bigger calipers, bigger rotors, whatever it may be. I do feel like this thing brakes a little bit better than my F-150. I feel like it handles a little bit better in the F-150. Is definitely a more cushy ride, a little bit more enjoyable to drive it. I will say it's not as much fun to drive as my F-150. So now we're going to get into the performance aspect. All hell the V8, right? V8 is no replacement for displacement. That is not correct. I will say the 1 or 2 times I put this thing to the wood, I'm not overly impressed. Yeah, it's got the nice grunt. I mean, yeah, it sounds good when you get on it. It does sound good. I will give it that. It does have the quick jump off the line. Again, we got 392s. It would probably be better if I had a little bit smaller wheels. Again, I do have the 22-inch wheel package. So it does jump and get off the line good, but the problem is this thing dies off pretty quick. I mean, I want to say this thing starts dying off power-wise like 3,500 RPMs and above. So the power band is very small for this thing, very narrow power band. And it just feels like it doesn't have anything in the upper RPMs. One thing I will say is that 2.7 liter EcoBoost is something special. That thing just, it had an immense amount of power. It just, as soon as you tipped into it, there was very, very little turbo lag. Anybody who says that turbo lag is an issue is just nuts, or you just haven't experienced it. So it really isn't an issue. That thing just, as soon as you stepped on it, it just had it all right there. It was a very broad power band. It kept on pulling to red line. That is just a really, really special engine. So I will say I do like the 5.7 in some aspects, but balls to the wall, this thing just does not compete with the EcoBoost. Again, I've had everything under the sun. I can speak pretty intelligently on this matter. My opinion is I don't really feel like the 5.7 Hemi is really all that fantastic power-wise and fun to drive aspect. Okay, so overall usability and interior, again, guys, I just absolutely love this interior. I am able to overlook some of the imperfections with this, and I will use or coin the term perfectly imperfect. I love the interior. Just everything about this just makes me really love this truck. One thing I do wish, I wish that Ram did the sliding covers over the cup holders and this open area here like they did with the Limited. I'm just really weird like that. I don't like open spaces because you're gonna see there's just always junk and shit in here. I just don't like seeing that stuff. So I wish this fully closed, or there was something that slid over this to cover this. Otherwise, the comfort level of the seats, I think is really good. Again, I just really like the overall trim, fit, and finish of things. I don't know if this is a me thing. I have had a little bit more back pain since getting this, and I do notice when I'm driving, you're gonna see it, there is, you know, some open area, you know, in the seat. I will find that for some reason I'm hunching forward a little bit more with my driving posture instead of, you know, basically fully coming back into the seat like that. I feel like there's something in the bolster maybe that is causing me to lean forward a little bit instead of being, you know, full back like that. And it seems like no matter how I adjust my seat, I'm always kind of hunching forward a little bit, and that may be you know, hurting the center of my back a little bit more. So we're going to get into the Uconnect radio. Really, I haven't had any problems with this radio. The responsiveness of it is great. I really haven't found any bugs with this, to be perfectly honest. Actually, you know what? I do lie. I did find a bug with it that I will get into in a minute. I don't think it's related to the radio itself, though, but we're going to get into that perfectly imperfect thing that we're going to get into. But otherwise, you know, the screens are responsive, you know, things move around the way that they should. I don't have any issues with things. The one thing that I will say I'm not overly happy, well, not that I'm not overly happy with it, I'm just a little disappointed. I wish there was more use of the screen here. So basically, when you go into the music, you know, you'll set up the way you want your cards. You just get small areas of the screen. It just doesn't utilize the screen as much. When you're playing your music, I would probably like something a little bit more on the screen to show me, you know, thumbnail and what's playing on the music. Yeah, it's kind of cool to have the climate control down on the bottom, or however you want to set this up. It's just, I just think it's kind of wasted space sometimes. All right, so next thing we're going to get into is CarPlay use. You're going to see my phone is plugged in here. We have CarPlay, and this is kind of one of those things that I feel probably could have been implemented a little bit better with the use of the screen. You're going to see, you know, the small CarPlay screen there. Let's see if we'll go back a little bit so you can get an idea on the overall size of the screen compared to CarPlay. So, again, I feel like it could have been better used, and that is because the screen being portrait instead of landscape. Is it terrible? No. I mean, I really haven't used the, let's go ahead and kick it back on. I really haven't used the CarPlay all that much. I typically, you know, use Bluetooth, but if I were using the maps in this, so I just really don't think that this is, you know, worthwhile for using maps. I think that this is probably a little bit smaller than what CarPlay would have been like on my 8-inch unit of my Ford. So otherwise though, I do really enjoy this setup for the most part, but we'll get into some of the negatives of it. So one of the gripes that I don't enjoy about this vehicle is the logic that Ram created, whoever the engineer was that created the programmability and logic for this infotainment system. Again, I live in Pennsylvania. Right now it is, go ahead and start this up and see what the temperature is. Right now it is 34 degrees outside. It's a little bit cold. You're gonna see right there popping up on the screen, heated seat comes on, heated steering wheel comes on. That's fantastic. I love that that comes on automatically, and I have my heat set for auto, so it will do its thing to get the 72 degrees. I do enjoy that. However, what I found out is that the temperature outside needs to be below, I think it's 39 or 37 degrees for this to happen automatically. If it is 40 degrees, the heated steering wheel will not turn on, and the heated seat will not turn on automatically. I don't like that. I like my heated seats on. If it's 50 degrees or below, I like having my heated seats on and my heated steering wheel. I enjoy having that. So I will say I wish the threshold was a little bit higher for that to do it automatically. I do wish you had some kind of control over that option to be able to change that how you like it, with all the functionality that you can modify within this UAP screen. I would have liked to be able to change that to my own, so the car is ready when I get it in the morning. So we're gonna get into the perfectly imperfect thing. Guys, this vehicle has a lot of electronic bugs. So the tech that I do like, I do really enjoy having the adaptive cruise control. That is fantastic to have if you drive on the highway. It's a little weird and unnerving at first to get used to the vehicle slowing down and speeding up on its own, but if your state is anything like Pennsylvania, then people around you don't know how to drive, and people don't realize that you can just ease off of the gas on the highway and you don't have to slam on your brakes on the highway and then floor it to get back up to speed. That is how people drive in Pennsylvania. It drives me crazy. So to be able to set the adaptive cruise control, let that do its thing, I just kick back like this and just chill on the highway. That's nice. I have tested the lane departure system. I will say when you're not on the highway, it's mediocre. When you're on the highway, it is pretty nice. You know, I let off of the steering wheel one time and let it drift off a little bit, and it did auto-correct it and pull itself back on the course. So that was pretty nice that did work like that. I do like those two functionalities. The automatic braking, so about. Yes, it has saved my ass probably about 2 times already where, you know, I thought I was paying attention and maybe I wasn't, and somebody jammed on the brakes right in front of me and it quick popped up on the screen here. It'll say brake and it'll turn red and it'll beep and, you know, it'll slow the car down. That will scare the shit out of you the first time that happens. So it is nice. It keeps you from getting complacent and getting into an accident. I will say sometimes that is a little buggy. The forward collision detection isn't buggy. I will say that works good, but if you guys have any experience with this truck, you will know the rear collision detection is, I'm not gonna say terrible, but it is extremely sensitive. I have everything set to the defaults, which is medium. I am not an overly aggressive driver, but I am not an overly conservative driver either. I figured leaving everything medium would probably be the best bet, but I found, and you can see in the background, backing down my driveway in the mornings, for some reason that has set that off a few times. Just backing out and pulling out my driveway. Gavin's car there I don't think was the issue. I think it was sensing my neighbors' cars in their driveway, so I'd be backing out in the morning and all of a sudden the truck just stops. The lights come on saying detection, you know, collision detection avoidance, and starts beeping and going crazy. When you're leaving your house at 6 o'clock in the morning, you haven't had your coffee yet, it's still dark out, that scares the shit out of you. So I've only had that happen 2 or 3 times. I'm a little bit more, I look at it a little bit more, I back out of the driveway a little bit slower, and I've noticed that has not happened again. But that is something to think about when you're backing down your driveway. Your backup sensors will be beeping potentially if you live on an incline, and just go really slow backing up. I do leave the sensors on because I think they provide a value, but they can scare you sometimes. So you just saw the adaptive cruise control warning thing coming up. That comes up when you start the vehicle. That's all fine and dandy. I will say one of the bugs that I found with this, I was pulling up behind a Tesla and I got within 5 or 8 feet of that Tesla, and all of a sudden I started getting messages up on my screen that it shut off the adaptive cruise control, it shut off the collision detection avoidance, shut off the lane departure, it shut off all this stuff, and it started going crazy for some reason. So I think the Tesla had probably some kind of radar detection system or something in it that was giving feedback into my system, shutting off all my sensors, or just the clash in electronics again with the technology in the Tesla maybe threw something off of mine. I tried to leave it as a glitch, but then I went to go meet my ex-wife to drop my son off. She has a Maserati. I parked next to her Maserati, and again, I started getting all kinds of weird stuff popping up on the screen and just weird error messages. So I really think that while the sonar sensors in these things are great for a lot of things, I do think that they are buggy and they are prone to interference from other vehicles around you, or other things around you maybe that run on similar technology, or can jam the frequency ranges that these run on. Getting back to the radio, the only glitch I saw with the radio, and this has only happened once, I was driving, and just all of a sudden I got like a flash of an error of some sort right here. It happened real quick on the center screen. A flash, it rebooted, the radio rebooted, went blank, and it came back up like nothing happened after, I don't know, 10 seconds or something like that. Again, that is a weird glitch. It only happened one time, but that is something to mention. So I go back on this perfectly imperfect. I love pretty much everything about this thing. I have looked past a lot of weird little glitches with this thing because I do just really love the package. I love the looks of the vehicle. And I understand, being in the tech sector, that, you know, electronics can be buggy. There's a lot of tech in these new vehicles. And I do understand they can be a little bit buggy. Until this thing lets me sit on the road, that I have to call service or something like that, I'm not going to be overly concerned. But, you know, again, I do understand technology can be a little weird. You're going to see there's no more check engine light. I did not get that reset. The check engine light went away. If you guys recall, I had a check engine at 77 miles. It was just a basic air fuel mixture code. That went away next day on its own, so that was cool. I haven't had any issues really after that, so I won't complain about that too much. Brr, damn, it's cold out. All right, so we're back in the truck. I think we're gonna finish this up. Hopefully you guys found this informative. Again, there doesn't seem to be any actual owner reviews outlining, you know, what I feel is some of the important stuff that, you know, maybe I wish I knew when I was buying the truck. You know, again, there's a lot of stuff I'm willing to overlook because I just really do think that this is a great truck. It doesn't have the performance of my F-150, but everything else it seems to do really well. That being said, in my opinion, for this to be the perfect truck, or for the Ram to be the perfect truck, I really think, so before I got this truck, or right when I first got this truck, to me, my opinion was the perfect truck would be GMC Sierra looks on the outside, Ram interior quality, fit, finish, and looks, and electronics, and F-150 motor packages. That has changed a little bit since I've owned this, because I really have grown to love the look of this vehicle. I don't think it is quite as aggressive as the GMC Sierra looks. I still do think that that looks a little bit better, but I am really liking the looks of this. But I will say, for this to be the perfect truck, in my opinion, is I think Ram really should come out with some other engine packages. If they can figure out a way to do a smaller displacement twin turbo motor like Ford has done with the EcoBoost, I really think that this would appeal to a lot more people. I myself am not a V8 guy, and that's funny because, you know, I got two V8 Mustangs and I have a V8 truck. I'm not a V8 guy, it just worked like that for something that I wanted at the time. I am a force inducted vehicle guy. I like my smaller displacement motors with turbos on them. That's my thing. I enjoy being able to get great gas mileage and still being able to tow. So I think that this will perform the same gas mileage as what the 3.5 liter EcoBoost that I actually ordered would do, but this thing cannot hold a wick to the 2.7 whatsoever. Yes, the MDS with the dropping cylinders is great, but again, it's just never, ever, ever, ever going to touch the gas mileage of the 2.7. It's never going to touch the performance of the 2.7, in my opinion. So I just really think if FCA really thought out a smaller displacement twin turbo engine to be able to compete with the EcoBoost, I really think that their sales would skyrocket. I know I would buy the first one because I think this is a great truck. I just am not fully convinced on the 5.7 Hemi. It's not bad, but it's just not what I expected it to be. So again, guys, hopefully you found this review useful. Maybe this will help you determine, yes, I'm going to buy this vehicle, or no, I'm not going to buy this vehicle. Let me go look at something else. Overall, I am pretty damn pleased with this vehicle. They often say if you get out of your car and you don't get back to look at it every time you park it, it's not the right car for you. I often find myself getting out and looking at this back in the parking lot, and I'm like, damn, this is a really good looking truck. Again, the comfort is there. I really enjoy it overall. So I will say I am happy with it. If you guys are interested in further videos on this, please reach out to me or comment down below. If you guys want to see some of the installs of some of the little things I'm going to be adding to it, I will add that down below. Otherwise, as soon as springtime hits, we're going to hook up the trailer and the boat to it. We're going to see what it tows like. I'm sure it's going to tow great. It's a V8, how would it not, right? So it's going to tow great for my needs. I'm really curious what the gas mileage is going to look like when it gets warmed out, and when the ethanol content goes down in the gas and it's a little bit better blend, and especially when it's towing. So if you guys are interested in that, please follow up on future videos, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for your support.